So moving on from increased physical activity is diet and nutrition. So Adams et al. 2010 defines a balanced diet as a diet that provides the correct amount of nutrients without excessive or deficiency. An eat well plate is usually advised to people as the correct portions or percentages of food that should be eaten. So to obtain a healthy diet, it's recommended that 15% of your diet is proteins. So the main role of proteins is to help build muscle tissue as well as repair it. When the body can no longer get enough energy from either carbohydrates or fats, it will use protein as its next source of energy. Much like carbohydrates, proteins are split into two categories, so incomplete and complete. Complete proteins are foods that contain all of the EAAs, such as meats, fish, dairy products, and eggs, whereas incomplete proteins are foods that are missing one or more of the EAAs, such as bread, rice, pasta, or cereals. 30% of your diet should be fats, so the main function of fats is to be used as an energy source, as they are the body's largest store of energy. As well as being an energy store, fats also protect the vital organs, as well as giving structural material for the cells and being an insulator. There are two types of fats, so saturated fats are found within foods such as butter, meats, and dairy product, as well as palm and coconut oil, which is the plant-based source. Unsaturated fats are in oil, olive oil, or sunflower oil, as they are usually a liquid at room temperature. 55% of your diet should be carbohydrates. So carbohydrates are the body's first source of energy, as they are easily accessible when they are needed. There are two types of carbohydrates, simple and complex. Simple carbohydrates are sugars formed of single or double sugar units, which are once absorbed provide an energy source. Examples of these include white foods such as bread or pasta, cereals, and crisps. Whereas complex carbohydrates are still a source of energy, however they aren't as quick to break down, and therefore they release energy over long periods of time. So examples of these include brown pasta, whole grain bread, or bananas. So these three nutrients, so carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, are known as macronutrients, as the body requires them in a daily amount that are larger than a gram. However, the body also needs micronutrients, however they are only required in a much smaller amount. So vitamins are a type of micronutrient, and they help to prevent certain deficiency diseases, and they also help to perform metabolic functions, as well as help support the growth and functions of the immune and nervous system. Minerals help to form components of the body such as bones, connective tissue, enzymes, and hormones. And lastly, fibers help to aid food through the digestion, as it's not actually digestible itself. As well as all of this, you should also be eating 5 portions of fruit and veg a day, and less than 5% sugar. As well as this guide, there are also daily calorie intakes that males and females should obtain per day. So males is 2,550 calories, whereas females is only 1,940 calories. As well as just looking at what you eat, hydration and water in particular are vital to bodily functions. So water helps make sure chemical reactions can take place. It also helps move substances around the body. Lastly, water also helps to regulate the body's temperature. So not drinking will lead to dehydration. So dehydration is when the body is losing more water than it's taking in. The symptoms of dehydration include tiredness, dry mouth, feeling thirsty, lightheadedness, as well as it also having physical effects on the body. So blood volume decreases, there's an increase in blood viscosity, blood pressure will decrease, heart rate increases, and the body may overheat. So having a bad diet or an unhealthy balance can lead to obesity. So obesity can be identified by using the BMI scale, so that's the body mass index, which is calculated with your weight and your height. So generally for adults, a BMI of 18.5 to 24.9 is a healthy weight, 25 to 29.9 is overweight, 30 to 39.9 is obese, and 40 or above is severely obese. So as shown in the graph over here, 36% of people aged 45 to 54 are obese, which is the largest category. Estimates of the economic cost of obesity vary and are uncertain. So an influential Foresight report from 2007 estimated that the NHS costs attributed to elevated BMI, so overweight and obesity, were 4.2 billion in 2007. This was forecast to rise to 6.3 billion in 2015, 8.3 billion in 2025, and 9.7 billion in 2050. This only reflects costs to the health service and not wider economic consequences for society. Estimates of future costs rely on the accuracy of obesity prevalence forecasts. So that was a statistic from House of Commons Obesity Statistics, which was published on the 6th of August 2019. So obesity can lead to diabetes, so more specifically type 2. So there are lots of factors that can increase the risk of it developing. However, the most common factor is from being overweight or obese. So this is related to 80 to 85% of developing diabetes, as well people who are obese are 80 times more likely to develop type 2 than people with a BMI of less than 22. It increases the risk of developing type 2 as abdominal fat can cause the fat cells to release chemicals known as pro-inflammatory, and this chemical makes the blood become less reactive to insulin, and this therefore means the body can't respond to insulin, so the blood glucose levels increase. As well, obesity can lead to coronary heart disease. So this is when the coronary arteries narrow due to build-up of this fatty material. And these arteries are the main suppliers of oxygen for the heart. So obviously if they don't get oxygen, the cycle can't continue, and that can lead to heart attacks. Cancers also can be caused by obesity. Strokes as well as depression can also be caused by diabetes. So what was done to counteract this? So there was a sugar tax in place. So it was introduced in 2018 by the government as part of the childhood obesity strategy. It aims to get the companies to reduce the sugar content in their drinks so that they avoid paying a larger fee. This will in turn reduce the amount of sugar people are consuming in food and drinks. This wasn't the first strategy, however, to reduce sugars. In 2017, the Public Health of England aimed to reduce 20% of sugar in foods that are produced by 2020. They targeted to reduce the content by 5% each year. However, it was found that companies and supermarkets only reduced 2% in the first year. So, as well as problems being caused by overeating, there are also problems that can be caused by undereating. So one problem that can come from undereating is anorexia. Anorexia is an eating disorder as well as a mental health condition. People who suffer from it keep their weight as low as they can by not eating enough food. As well, they can also over-exercise. However, this can lead to serious health problems as they are essentially starving themselves. Long-term effects of this include malnutrition due to lack of eating, problems with muscles, as well as bones, fertility problems, problems with the heart and blood vessels, so there'll be poor circulation, lower blood pressure, and irregular heartbeats. There will also be problems with brain and nerves, so there could be an increased risk of seizures, as well as difficulty with memory. They'll suffer from kidney and bowel problems. There'll be a weak immune system, so they could suffer from an iron deficiency. As well as anorexia. Bulimia is also another eating disorder and a mental health condition. However, unlike anorexia, people suffering from this condition go through phases of binge eating, so that's eating large amounts of food in a short space of time. They'll then make themselves sick, or take medication to empty their bowels, or do excessive amount of exercise as to not gain any weight. However, the effects of bulimia are very similar to anorexia, so feeling fatigued or weak, dental problems, so this could be from stomach acid, that they are vomiting up constantly, and that can damage the teeth, obviously, swollen glands, heart, kidney and bowel problems, as well as bone problems, so osteoporosis. Now, food choices. So there are lots of factors that can affect the food that people are eating. So the first one being availability. So what food is available to them? Obviously, if you go down, like a high street in a city, food that's just there, cheap to get, is normally the fast food restaurants, so McDonald's, Burger King, KFC, and obviously that food is served really quick, but obviously it's not the healthiest of food. Income is another factor, so obviously if people don't have loads of money, then they can't be going out, then they might not go out and buy lots of food, they might just go to these cheaper places where the food isn't as healthy. Knowledge and education, so having the knowledge of what food they're actually intaking will also impact their food choices. If they don't know that a certain food is unhealthy, they may continue to eat it, which obviously is then going to lead to their diet not being as healthy. Their preferences, obviously people may not like healthy foods, and may prefer just to have, that unhealthy food. Their lifestyle, they may have been brought up on takeaways, ready meals, so they may, that may just be their lifestyle, that may be what they like, they may just keep with it, and obviously takeaways and ready meals have very high salt levels, sugar levels, they're not healthy foods. Occupation, which links into their income, as well as they may not have time to prepare meals in the evening, so maybe ordering a takeaway is the easiest option for them. And lastly, their culture and religion may not be the norm to make food. They may be used to going out and getting food, etc. But obviously food choices vary from person to person, dependent on these factors here.